Hello AOS fans, Robin here, and I'm back again with a 5 reasons to read video, and it's for one of my favourite authors, British author James Smythe, who writes science fiction, speculative fiction, and he has a new book out. It's actually out today as I record this, but of course as usual I'm behind, and his new book is called I Still Dream. I have a copy here. This is a proof copy, so this is not how the finished cover looks. I'll perhaps flash one up, get Pete to flash the finished cover up for you. And I say it's out today, and that is I Still Dream by James Smythe. James Smythe writes fascinating speculative fiction, really. He started back a few years ago with The Testimony, which is a book about that kind of encompasses the whole of the planet, and some people hear a voice, and then there's kind of, he asks questions about what this voice might be. Not everybody can hear it. Is it God? Is it something sinister? Is it a technological something or other? Who knows? That's where he started, and he's written a couple of other kind of more Arthur C. Clarke-esque science fiction novels, and then he wrote my favourite novel, probably possibly, apart from maybe this one, The Machine, is one of my favourite novels of all time. It's an amazing book about memory, and it's got a Frankenstein vibe, and it's just a great book. And there's something about Smythe's writing, it kind of really gets under your skin. A friend of mine says, oh, I really don't like his books, but I love them. It kind of explains what some of them are like. They kind of really make you creep you out, but they're brilliantly written. And then he wrote one about his sort of made up social media platform called Clear Vista, which was great. It was talking about how much store we set in social media and what we read on there, which perhaps was written before all this fake news and all that kind of stuff, and now is perhaps a little bit more interesting. I ought to go back and read that. And now he has I Still Dream. So anyway, here are 5 reasons why you should read I Still Dream, although really you only need one, and that is that it's absolutely great. But here are 5 more other than it's absolutely great. So starting with number 1. Number 1 is the structure of the novel. It says on my proof cover here, it's not even a sticker, it's actually welded on. It says Cloud Atlas meets Black Mirror. Now, publishers like a bit of hyperbole. Smythe is about as close as you can get to reading an episode of Black Mirror, I would say. Generally, his books are. Cloud Atlas, okay, you're looking at some interleaved structure, and you don't quite get that, but you do get a neat 10-year snapshot, if you like, with each section of the book. So it starts in 1997, and it moves forward in 10-year increments, and it gives us an interesting snapshot of the world at that time. So we see the main character Laura. She starts off in 1997. She's a teenager, and she each 10-year slot, obviously she's older, and it kind of shows how things change, and also I suppose how things stay the same, and how we are the product of our existence, I suppose, as we get older. And it's a really interesting idea. It shows how the world changes. Technology is the centre of this novel. It shows how the technology changes, and then it goes into the future, so it extrapolates how the technology might change. And I just really like the way he's done it. It's really very clever, and it allows him to tap into my second reason for reading this book. So reason 2 is the nostalgia. Yes, Smythe, I would say generally, is a very nostalgic author. He loves seeping popular culture through into his books, but in a really subtle, enhancing way. It's not shoehorned in. I know Ready Player One is a really great book that people love. I just find that a little bit too. Here's some popular culture references for you. Let's chuck them at you as fast as we can. Smythe doesn't do that. They're much more seeped into the fabric of his book, which makes it seem far more real and far more believable, I think. So I'm a little bit older than Laura, but I still felt the sort of nostalgia for the times. 1997, I can remember it very well. It's when I left university and got a job. And so the music of the time and the kind of attitudes of the time and the technology of the time really kind of struck a chord with me. And then when you jump forward 10 years, And 10 years after that, kind of looking back at what had happened, it kind of really felt, oh yeah, I remember that. Oh, I remember doing that. Oh, dial-up. Who remembers dial-up? I remember talking on the phone in 97, talking on the phone for ages on the phone, and you're blocking your line for your parents. In 1997, I got my first job, and I got told off by my landlady because I was on the phone too much to my girlfriend. And so that is kind of where we are with that. That I could really relate to that. So that's the nostalgia kick, and the nostalgia kick in turn feeds into reason 3. Reason 3 is the music. Now, Smythe seeps pop culture into his novel. It does that no more so than in the music. So Laura is a huge Kate Bush fan. She grew up with her dad who's been removed from the picture. Won't spoil that too much for why that might be, but he left mysteriously when 10 years previously, so we have this kind of, she listens to his music that they like to listen to together, and then she has her own passion for music. She's a big Radiohead fan, and she makes her own mixtapes, which, as we all remember doing at that sort of era in our lives, making mixtapes. And the mixtape was an incredibly powerful, evocative thing, and that runs through the story. Even though the obsolescence of tapes and things, but the power of a mixtape, I think even now, possibly even people who've never know what a mixtape really is, somehow the magic of it has kind of seeped through pop culture, and Smythe brings that to the fore, and he really uses his music really well. There's I Still Dream is a reference to a Kate Bush song. There's lots and lots of references to Kate Bush songs in here, and Radiohead, and lots of other things too, and it kind of helps cement that novel in the reality. It's not too overt, but it's there, and it's really, really nice. So that's reason 3 is the music. And reason 4 is almost kind of like the whole reason for the book, and that's the depiction of AI, artificial intelligence, in the book. The story is about Laura when she starts off. She's a teenager, and her dad was a computer programmer, and she's picked it up, and she has basically created herself a therapist to talk to, who is the form of this computer program. She types questions into it, and it answers them for her. And that's where her AI organon, or I think is how it's pronounced, that's where it begins, and the novel sort of goes from there. She shows her package to her program. She shows her program to her IT teacher, who almost tries to steal it, and things kind of spiral from there. And then we will leap forward 10 years, and we will see how it's evolved or how it hasn't evolved. I don't want to spoil things, but she has got a job at a big company, one that her dad used to work for, or indeed used to be actually one of the bosses of, and it's the interplay there. Some lovely riffs on Silicon Valley and the expansion of that, and the sort of how tech companies work. There's a shout out to the Clear Vista tech company that he created in his book No Harm Shall Come to a Good Man, which is another great book about perils of social media. There's some competing AIs then, everybody's trying to make their own best AI. There's some interesting stuff about how AIs might evolve, and the perils of doing it in isolation and teaching it in certain ways. Again, I don't want to spoil what it is, but it's a really fascinating look at how AIs might evolve and what should be avoided, and are they all going to end up like Skynet, as a Terminator comes up in this book, trying to nuke the world? Smythe doesn't think so, and he has very compelling reasons for why, which you should read, and I think you'll really enjoy. So if you have any interest in artificial intelligence or computer programming or anything like that, or the evolution of technology, then absolutely you should read I Still Dream. So that's my 4th reason, and my 5th and final reason why you should read the book is... The 5th and final reason is very much something that Smythe is common to a lot of his books, and that is the idea of memory and the persistence of memory, and what makes us who we are. What makes us who we are is our memories. We are at the sum of our memories, if you like. And he, in many of his books, and in this one, he analyses how memories degrade, how the way we recollect things changes over time, and how that actually shapes us as human beings. And then as the technology increases, again, I don't want to give too much away, then obviously now we capture loads of data about ourselves. Suddenly, you're almost like you're capturing memories. So you're almost capturing the essence of the person through their social media and technology use, and particularly if they use AI. I mean, you've got people, things like Alexa and stuff in your house. It's capturing the very essence of you every time you tell it something. Is that a good thing or is it a bad thing? Well, it kind of depends on where you stand on that argument, I suppose. Obviously, that was a bit of a pointless thing to say, but it does kind of depend on, and also what ends up happening to technology. And Smythe has an interesting idea of what might happen there. I won't spoil it, but I kind of love that. And then as Laura gets older, her parents get older, her mother gets older, and her husband's parents get older, and then you have the what happens to memories at the other end of our life and what that means. And this is clearly a thing that's really big for James Smythe, this sort of persistence of memory. So that's my fifth reason. It's really lovely. It's not a happy ending, but not a sad ending either. It's a very fitting ending, but it is all tied up in this idea of memory and what makes us human, I suppose. So they are my 5 reasons to read James Smythe's I Still Dream. It's an absolutely fabulous book. I am biased. I do like James's work. I think he's a great author, and I really just think everybody should read this. It's $12.99 in the UK. I think it's a tenner on Amazon at the moment. And I don't know if he's got a US publisher. The US price, I had a quick look on Amazon.com before I came out. You can buy it, but it is just, I think it's just a imported copy. It's about $25, something like that. So, but anyway, do check it out. And if you can't get hold of this one in the US, then check out his earlier work. The Machine is an absolutely fabulous book. But if you want to read this, go read it. It's really, really great. If you like Radiohead, it's great. If you like computers, it's great. If you like reading, it's great. So that is it. That's my 5 reasons to read this week. It's James Smythe's I Still Dream. Go read it. Bye.